All right, guys, welcome into the Dawgs Central Film Preview on a Wednesday night. We're going to talk about Georgia's game against Missouri, show you guys a little bit of tape, and talk a little bit about how we think Georgia will attack the Tigers on the road on Saturday night in Columbia. As always, joined by Mr. Josh Hancher, a.k.a. Dog Stats, and John Smith at John Tweet Sports. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. Ready for some Thursday night college football. I'm ready to get into the part of the season where we have Maction on Tuesday and Wednesday night. That needs to hurry up because this lull between Monday NFL and Thursday games I'm starting to feel it now, but I'm doing good otherwise.
Right on.
Yeah, I guess if you're watching this, you see this. But we're live on Dawgs Central in the embed stream, so we're monitoring that for chat purposes. We'll be uploading it on YouTube afterwards. But again, if you're seeing this, you already found it out. But next time, look for us on Dawgs Central.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah, low energy because we've been watching Mizzou for a couple days now.
You said it, John.
Exactly.
You said it.
I know, yeah.
I was waiting on somebody to say it.
I mean, I tweeted last night, 1 a.m. watching Mizzou Auburn tape in my living room with the dogs snoring all around me, and that's two of the assiest offensive lines I've ever seen in my life. Just trading missed assignments for 60 minutes was not the most inspiring football I've ever watched.
Y'all, I watched a good bit of that game, and I don't know, man. I can get down with some bad football. I can get down with this is just bad football. I can't get down with inept football. This is there were things happening that I was like, this is not bad football. This is aloof football from both coaches, players on the field. It was just it was bad. It was one of those games where you're like, I don't know if either of these teams want to actually win this game because they're not playing like it at all.
For sure. And I mean, Josh, shout out to you, tip of the cap. You went above and beyond. I was on the phone with him last night and he was like, all right, I'm going to cut up the Abilene Christian tape for you so you can see how this goes when it works the way it's supposed to. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I'll get a better feel for him. And I sit down and I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, they couldn't execute against Abilene Christian. It was just this shocking reality of how bad they actually are. I think they're worse than South Carolina, to kind of put some perspective on it. But it doesn't mean we're not going to take a look at how, how they we have fun, I think, breaking down kind of what they are and what they aren't and how they might try to run their offense on Saturday. Josh, you got some numbers there for us?
Yeah, offensive success rate, 41%. That's terrible. They've got a really good defensive success rate, but as you mentioned, they haven't played anybody. Kansas State's pretty much the only quality team they've played, and they, lost. They're 2-2 on the season, 5.6 yards per play offensively, and somehow they're allowing close to 5 yards. I would expect that defensive yards per play to be a little lower than that with a 33% success rate. Net yards per play 0.6, and they've played their softest part of the schedule, so that's going to go down. 24 points a game offensively and allowing 16 a game. Their PFF grades on offense are 67 and 75 on defense.
Do we have the points per games and the offense and defense swapped on yards per play in PPG? Georgia would be 33 points per game instead of
possibly. Yeah, my 17. Spreadsheet was giving me grief. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we haven't allowed that. That's not right. So, because we're allowing 8 points per game. So I apologize for that.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Not sending it. We had a no bridge jumping tonight. So the Georgia's crept down under 7 yards of play. which is we'd like to see that get up a little bit. Maybe we'll rack up some yards against Mizzou this week and Auburn next week, and still well above 60% offensively success rate and 35 on defense. Really good numbers for Georgia. And I think they can get better. And it's, again, this small sample size. So one off game like we had against Kent State can tend to swing those quickly, but they'll over the as data come in, they'll neutralize and you'll see some improvement there. So let me turn that off. That's enough of that. That's a lot of numbers.
Well, you guys want to get into some plays?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to look at some Abilene Christian tape first, because why not? So we're going to go through Mizzou's defense here to begin with. If you remember back, their defensive line flashed a good bit against Georgia's offensive line, especially in the interior last year. I don't think they can do it again, judging this is the first play of the game against Abilene Christian. They look very blockable for I don't even know what Abilene Christian's mascot is. I was going to call them by that name, but I'm not sure what it is. So, yeah, ACU just kind of gutting them casually up the middle for 6-7 yards there. You're going to see here on clip 15, the next one, same deal. They got them backed up, 1st and 10. Everybody knows a run play is coming. Like getting the pile push by an FCS team lined up on their own goal line is hashtag not great, Bob. And then right here, so 3rd and 4, I want you to watch Tyron Hopper at linebacker. He's number 8 with the dreadlocks, and he's the inside linebacker on the bottom of the screen, kind of moving down here. He is going to miss this tackle in run support, and Abilene Christian's going to rip off a nice gain down the sideline. He has a PFF tackle grade of 19.4 on a scale of 100.
Yep, that's correct.
He is actually very good in pass coverage. He is Mizzou's highest graded coverage player. But right here, a couple plays later, clip 20, same drive, he's going to miss another tackle. There he's kind of lined up almost like they're almost in like a 3 linebacker type deal here, but he's going to come down the hole and nope, doesn't get him there. And then so the very next play, they're going to take Hopper out of the game, and they're going to put Chad Bailey, number 33, in. He's questionable for Saturday. And then Will Norris, number 22, at inside linebacker. And those guys immediately miss a run fit after coming into the game for the guy who just missed 2 tackles in run support. So I'm going to venture out on a limb here and say these inside linebackers are not very good, particularly in run support.
Yeah.
Clip 22. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here's some of their tackle grades real quick from PFF. 19.3, 34.7, 21.8, 27.3, and 19.4. That's 3 linebackers, an edge, and a safety that have all played more than 50 snaps this year.
What's prize picks on Darnell Washington? 160 yards? I mean,
I don't know, man. It's good. Darnell Washington is going to feast because the edge and the linebackers are just not great tacklers. They play decently well in certain situations, which we'll get to. But
so the defensive back, Chris Abrams-Drain here on clip 22. Like, does a nice job. I think he's their best cornerback. He's going to come. I actually think I picked the wrong clip here. My bad, guys. But Abrams-Drain is number 1, I think. Let me see real quick.
Number 1's a safety, it looks like. He's coming up the middle there.
He is number 14. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So here's an interesting play. This secondary is really bad at tackling. So this actually had me howling at 1 a.m. last night. Number 2 is Enos Rakestraw. He's going to be in the slot there, and he just kind of drops out and doesn't really follow his guy. And he's going to go like full Naruto dive here like the dude that Stetson shook in the Coach 30 video against South Carolina. Boom.
Wow.
He was good earlier in his career, and he hasn't been. Abrams' drain hasn't been bad. In coverage, he's been 14 targets, 9 catches, only 118 yards allowed. He was good earlier in his career. I don't know. And then number 19 was the guy that missed the second tackle, Drayden Norwood. He's only been targeted 4 times. PFF coverage grade is 61. But the only team that's really tried to throw the ball on them was Louisiana Tech, and that was former UGA walk-on quarterback Matthew Downing, who played for the other Bulldogs that night, the La Tech Bulldogs. They actually ended up pulling him after his 3rd interception. They brought in the backup, but they still rolled up 350 yards passing on Mizzou. Mm-hmm. And it was a big loss. So, they were throwing and playing from behind the whole time. But, Kansas State attempted 11 passes. Auburn, same kind of story. I think 14 completions. So, I don't know if the secondary is good in coverage or if just the passing offenses they're playing are that bad.
In a tweet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you said it already. They played Kansas State, Abilene Christian, and Auburn the last 3 games, and from what I've seen of at least Kansas State and Auburn, I don't watch much Abilene Christian, sadly. But from Kansas State and Auburn, I know the Wildcats. By the way, that's Abilene Christian. Yes. But Kansas State and Auburn, they're not very good at throwing the ball, right? Kansas State just went in and beat Oklahoma, but that was because Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn just ran all up and down the field.
Yeah.
So you haven't. They have not played what I would consider a legit passing attack. So to know how good their secondary really is, I think they're going to be tested early this week.
Agreed.
Especially with Georgia missing Kenny McIntosh, I think you're going to see the Dogs try to stretch the field early.
Yeah, and so here you see their defense in a 3rd and 12 against Auburn, and we don't have the all 22 tape, so we don't really know how well they're covering downfield. You did see a lot of this on Saturday where Auburn just, Ashford or whoever was in at quarterback just broke and started running. But more emphasis here on kind of the poor tackling at the second level with the linebackers. You're going to see. This is a bad Auburn offensive line. They got worked pretty silly by Penn State, and they're bullying Mizzou's front here early in this game. They did settle down a little bit in the second half and played better, but Hopper, who we were talking about earlier, number 8, and then number 9, Isaiah McGuire, those are their 2 best pass rushers, and they're both coming off the right side here. McGuire is number 9, the guy that makes the sack. They both have 9 pressures on the year, so something to watch for Georgia in pass rush situations. With how good Broderick Jones and Warren McClendon have been, I think if Mizzou had a very dominant interior pass rushing lineman, that would scare me a little more for UGA because of the guard play recently. But Broderick Jones and McClendon have been so solid, I'm not sure that it's something to worry about too much if you're a Georgia fan.
Yeah, Graham, good job. You feel better having gotten that tape out of your system. We're going to look at the offense.
Yeah, it's like when you throw up something that was bad for you.
Oh, by the way, when I was cutting the Auburn Mizzou game, there apparently wasn't just our producer for the ESPN Plus broadcast. It stunk.
I noticed that. Yeah,
it was pretty bad. But I guess when you're covering 70 or 80 games. But yeah, I can't imagine what it's like on some of the other feeds.
Well, I'm excited to look at the Mizzou offense because I will say this, and I don't mean it derogatorily toward Mizzou, but they have about 4 good SEC players that I have seen on their team on tape, and I think all 4 of them are on the offense. I think the defense it is not built as an SEC caliber defense, but they do have a couple of guys on the offense that I think could. I don't know. It's hard to say give Georgia trouble, but
Luther Burden is one of them.
Yes,
I mean
Luther Burden is questionable, unfortunately, for this game. So that Abilene Christian game was 17-3 at halftime. 7 of the points for Mizzou came right here. Burden's he's a 5-star dude. Like Georgia wanted him bad. He's a different type of athlete. Mizzou doesn't have many of them. He's the one guy on that wide receiver core that can really create a matchup problem, and he's probably not playing. Here you're going to see Brady Cook at quarterback. He's got a live arm, I think. He will make some poor decisions. Like right here, this isn't a pick, but God knows it could have been. I think he does that because his guys often aren't getting much separation. His best receiver is Lovett, number 7, Dominic Lovett. He's a slot receiver, leads Missouri in receiving by a large margin. 21 catches on 29 targets for 372 yards and 2 touchdowns. I was impressed with him on tape. Here he can do some nice things after the catch. This is kind of evidence of like Mizzou wants to get this dude the ball as much as they can, I think, especially with Burden out. So 3rd and 2, you're playing Abilene Christian at home. You should be able to line up and run the football for a first down. The center, number 55, Connor Tollison, going to get blown.
Looks like he's making a tackle.
Just got blown.
Yeah, and he's a liability, and particularly in run block, but he isn't great pass blocking either. I expect with Jalen Carter back and the A-gap blitzes we've seen from Dumas Johnson and Mondin lately that he might have a long day Saturday. That's another 3rd and short right there. No, you're fine. A 3rd and 1, again, running the ball. Kind of same point as the last clip, right? They don't pick up this. I noticed, too, they don't pick up delay blitzes well or like delayed rushers. That guy comes off the edge just a beat after the snap, and it's like they don't know he existed. But this is gonna be a nice moment for Brady Cook. Like that's a throw into a window. Like he does a good job of using loft on the ball. He'll put a little arc on it. Like he can throw into some tight windows. I think he's used to throwing into tight windows because his receivers aren't a bunch of big windows. Decent touch right there on a wheel backup running back. Like if you leave receivers open for him over the field, like he will, make you pay. Like he is a competent quarterback. This is their best halfback, Schrader. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say, Dominic Lovett. And again, it's. I think it's more of a number of targets and a couple of long passes, but Dominic Lovett, leads the SEC in receiving, averaging 17.9 yards a catch, right? So there are some good things about this Missouri passing game, especially the last couple of weeks. They've been able to make some plays when they need to, but there hasn't been much separation at all for sure.
Yeah,
it's Brady Cook just fitting it.
And
in
right, and I think the offensive line can basically just fold at any time. Like this is an SEC offensive line, allegedly, right here. I mean, look at the push that they get at the snap.
Yeah.
That's funny. Sorry, I'm just like literally laughing. This is just funny.
I know it's and I mean I think the thing to remember is like they are going to give Georgia their best shot. You know what I'm saying? Like they will be fired up to play this game at home. They do have a screen game. If you're a Georgia fan and you watched our show on Monday night about the Kent State film review, you definitely want to see Georgia defend that better on Saturday. I don't think the Mizzou wide receivers block their screen game as well as Kent State's did. And then here you're going to see Cook will stare down some routes into the middle of the field sometimes, like he did on that play right there. Like this is the type of play where Christopher Smith or Starks or somebody jumps that route and takes it back for 6 if he does that against UGA. So moving on to some Auburn tape. One thing that really stood out is just Missouri's pass protection issues. Left guard, number 72, Xavier Delgado, seems to be the biggest liability in pass pro for me. Gave up 3 quarterback hurries and that sack right there against Auburn. The right tackle, number 51, Zeke Powell, isn't great either. Penn State, just for reference, ran for 7 yards a carry on the ground against Auburn. Mizzou couldn't do much of anything on the ground against them, at least not with consistency. So
no,
I don't think that
1.8 yards a carry versus Auburn.
Yeah, that's friggin' putrid.
Yeah. And they ran the ball. Here's another thing about the Auburn-Mizzou game. Missouri ran the ball 45 – or Auburn ran the ball 45 times against Mizzou and could not do anything either. Mizzou ran 39, carried the ball 39 times against Auburn. They were
for 1.8 a carry.
Yeah.
That's bad, man.
Not great.
Here's another Cook questionable play here.
Yeah, it's like he trusts his arm a little too much. Wide receivers, again, just not getting for him to throw into. But, yeah, I mean, I think if you're Georgia, like you want to see Lassiter and Ringo and those guys up playing press coverage. But, like, this was the offense for Mizzou pretty much. This was what was most effective for them, was just, like, little motion and play action kind of fakes, and then just trying to dump the ball out on the edge to halfbacks and receivers. I think they'll run a lot of this quick game against Georgia because of the offensive line struggles. That's a nice run play for him right there. Yeah, and this is Pete. He's the number 1 running back. He is average 4.9 yards per carry on this. He's a hard runner. Like, he's does a good job of falling forward a lot and running through contact. And Cook, you're going to see here a little like zone similar to what Georgia does once or twice a half with Stetson. It's enough to make you have to respect that he's a threat to do it. He's not going to go for 60 on anybody, but you can pick up first downs that way if you miss an assignment. That's more of that kind of edge, quick game we were talking about. This is Mookie Cooper. Only has a few catches on the season, but he did flash right here in this Auburn game. So you might see more of him, especially with Burden potentially out. And then here, like, deep ball shot to your number 1 wide receiver, no separation. Cook's going to throw it anyways. That's kind of what I've noticed with him. Like, if you give him the deep ball call, like, he's slinging it out there no matter what the coverage looks like.
Yeah, and that's that's obviously a with Georgia, with the athletes that they have, much better athletes in the secondary than Auburn had, for example. Those are going to be some. If he continues to do that this game, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and this is that, like, again, play action fake, guy come in motion. I mean, that's a nice little play on 3rd and 2. But they have to run that because they can't run the ball up the middle and they can't throw a slant. You know what I mean? Like, they've got to do kind of some of this misdirection stuff, and kind of took advantage of a lack of speed at some positions for Auburn, but Georgia doesn't have that lack of speed. Little option there that surprised me. So I mean, I think that's going to be the whole thing for them, is trying to get on the edge and hope that UGA is not fast enough to beat him to the corner, but I think it's a tough ask.
That's a real big hope right there.
Yeah,
to hope that the UGA defense is not fast on the edge is a really big hope.
Yeah, and then this last,
but I agree with you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much what else they can do other than hope.
Hey, another little inside baseball here. See how this is all blurry? That's because during the broadcast we watch the Giambi or whoever for the Yankees on the split screen here. So
Giambi retired like 30 years ago.
Whatever, dude. I'm not a Yankees fan. All right, whatever.
I got you.
No one watching the Mizzou game with a Yankees fan either.
Do you have clip 120?
I do. I have 121.
Okay, I mislabeled it. 120 is like it's another long pass to Love it. I was just gonna say you got to get your head around them, but yeah, right here. I mean, this is more like you got to keep contained on Cook, because I think there's gonna be a lot of like situations where he looks downfield and
here's 121
his guys
for
covered. Yeah, and then just in case you didn't see it, they missed the field goal to win the game after taking 3 knees.
Yeah,
and backing up like 12 yards.
Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz. So this is the coach that Georgia's going up against this week, and I'm not trying to be derogatory, but his strategy when they had it first and goal on like the 8 was to take 3 knees and kick a field goal. That's the confidence that he had in his offense. Was to take 3 knees and then kick a field goal to try to win it. And by the way, they missed the 23-yard field goal or whatever it was.
Well, and what made it even funnier was that Cook, the quarterback, ran onto the field after the kick, thinking it was made, and like came out celebrating, and then like stops and turns, and like they caught him on the sideline for like 30 seconds with the camera afterwards, and he kept turning to people, and you could read his lips, and he was like, "He missed it? Are you effing kidding me? Like he missed it?"
Have you never watched an Auburn Jesus game, Cook? Have you ever?
I didn't know. I mean, even Auburn Jesus will show up for Brian Harsin, surprisingly enough.
Well, the thing I'll say too about this Missouri team reminds me a lot of South Carolina's team last year, where you have a situation where you have, the quarterback's not great, but there's a wide receiver, a guy. Lovett. I think Josh Vann is better than Lovett, but there's a guy like that on the field that if you're out of position, like there's a potential for them to beat you, down the field once or twice. But it does remind me, watching this film reminded me a lot of that South Carolina team last year, where quarterback wasn't great, but he's just kind of throwing it where the call is. You got offensive line that's not good. Like you've got a lot of situations there that could end up being bad. It will end up being bad for Missouri. Could end up being bad for Georgia in like 1 or 2 plays if you have a situation.
Graham, it was interesting. You said, unfortunately, Luther Burden was unlikely to play on Saturday, which is interesting because I was actually going to ask, don't you kind of wish you could see him? I mean, like I mean, like that's where we are as a program. We're actually truly wanting to see some of the better players, but yeah, it is disappointing that we.
I mean, him and Ringo would be a really fun matchup to watch. I think.
Yeah,
Ringo and Lovett will end up being a fun matchup. I agree with kind of the comp on South Carolina from last year. I think the only thing I would say is like with Lovett, like Van was a guy that could burn Georgia deep and actually get behind the defense. I don't know that Lovett had the wheels to do that, but I think the play that was supposed to be 120 instead of 121 is a ball that they threw down the sideline to him, about a 40-yard pass to get into range to take a knee and miss a game-winning field goal. But like on that play, it was one where, they kind of will do some, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Cook will underthrow him a lot and the defensive back will keep running. So I think that's a big thing for Georgia and their DBs on Saturday is to just get those heads around.
Throwing the deep ball comeback.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I guess you could call him a 50-50 guy.
Yeah. But that's a very good assessment too. I think where Georgia has to watch out. I totally agree. I don't think Lovett is the kind of guy that's going to get behind this Georgia defense. Where they have to watch out is he's a guy that can make some 50-50 catches. He's a guy that has proven that he can be, they haven't played a Georgia defense, but he's a guy that's proven that he can be in good position to make those types of plays. And I think it'll be really interesting, especially against Georgia's young secondary. And, and even like Kamari Lasser didn't have a fantastic game against Kent State, right? So I think those are those are areas that are going to be interesting to watch. I also think if you take out Burden, if he can't go, then I do think that changes Georgia's defensive philosophy a lot, right? I don't think they don't have 3 or 4 guys deep on that receiver core that can hurt you like those top 2. So
yeah, I mean, I think Georgia can just play man on defense all day and not really worry about any of their defensive backs getting burned downfield. And I'm sure they'll have some 1 and 2 high safety help with Starks. And I think Chris Smith might play star on Saturday, and you may see Jackson and Starks up high, or it'll be interesting to see how that kind of works out. But there's not like a Jamison Williams on this roster where it's like, oh, if Dan Jackson gets matched up 1-on-1, like, we love Dan, but he just might not quite have the wheels to keep up with him. Like, there ain't nothing like that going down.
Listen, I think the understatement of our time together doing a show together, every episode we've done, has been there's not a Jamison Williams on this Missouri team. That is correct. There is definitely not.
That's definitely fair.
I don't know how many Giambi hit tonight, but it looks like Aaron Judge got 61 tonight. So
nice.
Update.
Nice.
It would have made a lot of sense if they were doing the split screen for Alabama fans.
It would have made.
I've been looking for that joke all week and I couldn't come up with it. God, that was good. That's it.
It would have made a lot of sense if they were doing a split screen for something that was not Yankees specific. Like, who cares? I mean,
I get people care.
He's
but
breaking
but
he's not. He's breaking a Yankees home run.
Well, it's Roger Maris still. Like 61 was like the number in baseball for a while, and no one that hasn't been on steroids has really broken it. So I don't know if Aaron Judge is on steroids or not.
I was about to say, do we know that Aaron Judge is not on steroids? His hands look like Andre the Giant.
He looks like a Georgia tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's built like 6'5", and yes.
Yeah,
okay. Sorry. Before we wrap up here, do you on Saturday or score predictions or like?
All right. Yeah, I want to ask a couple of questions. All right, we've looked at sort of is there any? They're going to move the ball. They're going to score some points. What is it? What is it really that's going to they're going to get us on? Is it going to be a wheel route? Is it going to be just a blown coverage, or do you think we just completely shut them out?
I think the Lovett thing that we talked about, like, I think they could hit a ball or two, maybe 2 if they have a really good day down the sideline to him. But like, I don't think they're going to run the ball on Georgia with any sort of regular consistency. I mean, like, we're talking about a game where like the longest rush for Mizzou on a designed run might be like 8 or 9 yards. Like, Brady Cook maybe will get out and scramble on a play if somebody misses a sack or something. But like, I just think it's going to be very hard for them to score points.
Yeah, I think it would be, maybe a busted coverage, maybe the 50-50 balls. I think, with one of the young guys in coverage, maybe. I could see the screen game, but again, like, Georgia played so poorly against the screen game, and they focused on that so much in practice this week that if that is which we've seen on the film, has kind of kept the Missouri offense having a pulse a little bit. Like, I think that's another dangerous proposition for Mizzou. Like, you can't go into a game like this with a team that got exposed a little bit on the screen game last week and have focused on that all week. And that, like, so I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Mizzou. I also think, and this is just this is a little bit of Georgia homer in me, but it's also just my experience as an athlete and playing this game. Is Georgia, they have had the feeling of getting exposed last week and put in stressful situations, all those things. And like, you're going on the road in the SEC, you're coming off a game like that where that there was so many things that you could do better. You've had all week to kind of get right in some of those areas. I just think Georgia's just too good of a team to not bounce back in a big way against Mizzou. I just think, especially that offense, that Georgia offense, when I look at this Missouri defense, when I turn on the tape, I'm like, man, you're starting the two and three deep for Georgia is all like it at the three deep, you have mismatches all over the field against Mizzou, right? So you're going like into the third level of skill player, and you still have a mismatch. And so I just think it's going to be tough sledding for them to score, and I think it's going to be tough sledding for them to stop Georgia. Like this is a tough hill to climb this week for Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna say my little score projection formula. I had it 40-15, so kind of right on the market.
So that would be a cover for them. Yeah, I mean
it's 24.5.
No, it's up to it opened at 26.5.
Oh, cover for Mizzou. Yeah. Gotcha.
I mean, when I saw this open under 4 touchdowns, I was like, I might send a thank you note to the Kent State coaching staff for that performance last week, because that's the only reason why this line's not 40. And I mean, I slammed it hard because like I just don't think Mizzou can keep this game close, even if Kirby calls off the Dogs and runs the ball a bunch in the second half, because their run defense is so bad. Like my prediction for Saturday is I think Dejan Edwards, maybe another back, maybe Milton as well, but like I think there's a very good chance Edwards becomes the first 100-yard rusher for Georgia this year.
See, I can see a game where the pace of the game it's going to be hard for them. Man, they're going to cover 25, but I wouldn't be, because they're going to run the ball a lot, which means the drives are going to be a little longer unless they break off some really, really long runs. I can see just a get on the bus game from the second quarter on kind of thing, and just not.
Georgia's offense is a passing offense now. I mean, like. Even
I agree, but
Stetson's attempting 30, 35 balls. Like, I mean, I think you're still going to, even with McIntosh out, I think that eats into your screen game a little bit, but I think that's more opportunity for Ladd and Bowers and some of these other guys to get involved on the perimeter and some of those sort of orbit motions that they do with McIntosh. So I don't know, but we'll see. What?
I think this Missouri defense is equivalent to the Vanderbilt defense last year. Like when I watch Abilene Christian push these guys around,
right?
And Georgia went up and had 35-0 at the end of the first quarter,
right?
I'm not saying that's what it'll be on Saturday, but my prediction is I think it's a 48-6 or 48-10 kind of game. Personally, I do think I say I don't expect Georgia to keep them out of the end zone, but then also like I don't know how they're going to score, especially if Luther Burden can't go. So I don't know. I'm going to go 48-6 is going to be my official prediction. I think Georgia's just going to blow the doors off of them personally.
There you go. Thank you guys for watching the Missouri Film Preview. We are back.
I'm going 45-3, by the way.
Oh, it's my bad.
There you go.
You hadn't got that. I didn't mean to cut you off. 45-3.
No, you're fine.
So we got Ask Dawgs Central tomorrow coming to a Twitter feed near you. Still on Twitter, right?
I think so.
Yep. Twitter Spaces. We'll do that. We'll do that tomorrow. Ask Dawgs Central. If folks want to hop in, we'll do that at 7 Eastern time. And so Dawgs Central members can get their questions in the forum. Other folks can join and chat live. Yeah, feel free to ask Graham about Mizzou clip 120 if you missed out tonight.
Sorry,
we'll have it for you. Good job, Graham, as always, showing us who the players are and who we got and the schemes they do. And with that, we're going to let you guys get out early tonight and go celebrate with all the Alabama fans as Yankees. Yankees have broken.
Congratulations to all of you Alabama Crimson Tide fans on Aaron Judge's 61st home run of the season. I'm sure it means a lot to you.
I'm going to bookmark that. All right.
I'm going to tweet.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow, man.
All right. See you. Bye.